going on, guys? So I'm getting the truck all dialed in for Plant Bamboo. I do have a couple things I gotta address from the truck tugs. I lied, we had a couple little complications. And honestly, I think it was 100% JH Diesel's fault. I'll tell you why. Because this truck has never had this particular issue until he rode in it. He rode in somebody else's truck and I think they blew their engine. Rode in Brian's truck and started acting all funny. And he rode in my truck and I blew the boot off my intercooler. And guess who was riding in the passenger seat of all of us when all this happened? Justin Hildebrand. Coincidence? I think not. Now this here boot is the one I'm talking about. Looks like it was already on its last leg anyway. It might have got a little toasty a time or two. But I could immediately tell when it blew off. Basically because my turbo is factory and the sound of it went from 3 to 7. And you don't want to hear it go to 10. So where that boot goes, so the turbo comes and hooks onto this intercooler tube right here. Comes down the side of the engine and then this boot connects it to the intercooler right there. So it blew the boot off of this side. I mean, luckily it didn't really do anything. It was at the end of our rounds, so I didn't try to go again with it being disconnected like that. But nevertheless, we just shoved it on. I was able to get the truck on the trailer. But when we got home, I called Justin, because he is a diesel mechanic and does give us some advice every now and then with our truck. Asked him what he thought I should do, because I remember him telling me before that anytime you have an issue with one of those boots blowing off, he had one on one of his other trucks where it kept blowing off. He said, as soon as one of those boots starts letting go, you got to go and get it replaced immediately. Otherwise, you're going to be fighting it all the time. When I called him and just kind of went over it with him again, he again said the same thing. So I went on over to Chevrolet and got me a brand new boot right here. God, look at that thing. Oh, she's pretty as hell. Talk about an upgrade. I tell you one something. Now, this boot right here is made out of genuine silicone. None of that cheap rubber shit. It is real silicone. And it's got them nice shiny clamps on it. Stainless steel can drive the thing in the water. Take that thing right in the bay, tell you that. Also got, look at that, got them nice constant tension clamps. Now I think that's where I screwed up before because I had these little ship bag clamps that don't have a spring on them. A lot of people say it doesn't make much difference which one you use as long as you got it there tight by German standards, good and tight. But I don't know, Justin seems to agree with me that these are probably a better option because you got the spring in here, so you tighten it up, and even if the metal that you're connecting the silicone to expands and contracts, this thing will stay nice and tight. Excuse me, good and tight. So anyways, I got these new clamps, was able to pick them up over at Napa got the right size ones, and then I got this brand new boot, so I just got to get that put on the truck, and then we got a couple small upgrades. Freaking mad scientist is at it again, baby. Check out these new super bitchin' clamps I got. Man, they are so sweet. Super heavy duty, super hardcore, definitely super killing it. Now, let me show you where these go. So some of y'all that are just seeing this for the first time might not know what the hell the big difference is. Well, check out this. Now, according to my good buddies Bobby Brown, and of course the mad scientists that helped make all this happen, I had what's called spaghetti steering syndrome, or triple S. I had all these steering lines going every which way, and honestly, I didn't think it looked all that bad when I was driving it around like that. I was like, well, it looks fine. It's not that much different than you guys'. Now looking at it, boy, was I wrong. God damn, look at how much prettier that looks. Nice and simple, nice and straight. Bam! Super bitchin'. But check this out. It's super badass. R&D Concepts, aka the mad scientist with the adrenaline truck, made these super bitchin' distribution blocks, and then he made all these clamps for my hydraulic lines to go up the 4 links, up the frame, and then up there a little further to my orbital valve, and he also made them for the back too. And we couldn't have the front steer be super killing it, have the rear steer not be super killing it. So wouldn't you know, the mad scientist made me a distribution block for the back and clamps all the way up that 4-link bar, up the subframe, up the regular frame, right down into the toolbox where I keep the rear steer pump. So that leads me to these new clamps. Well, like I said, I was kind of in a rush getting the truck back together before my jaw surgery. So we had clamps for most of the locations. But up in here, see how the brake line kind of follows the 4-link? And then I got to go amateur hour some zip ties. Because the clamps that we had on hand didn't actually accommodate a brake line. So we had to zip tie them the rest of the way up. So these clamps are to go on that 2-inch DOM subframe right there. So I'm going to replace that one and replace that one with this one. So it'll fit the brake line in it too and get rid of all them amateur hour zip ties. Now this flat one right here, that's when I actually go on the factory frame of the truck, and I'm gonna put one right there, probably one right there, another one there. I don't know, that might be it. He gave me like a whole bunch of extra ones because Brian, he is part of the Killin It team. He does not do anything half-assed. He full-asses everything. So he gave me like a few extra ones so I can kind of fit them how I wanted. So that's actually the next thing I got to tinker with. But I think that's about it, other than checking all the fluids on the truck. We'll see what else I run into as I'm getting it together. But I think that's all we got to do. Then we're ready to go mud bogging. So this actually is going to be pretty simple. All I'm going to do is first take some brake cleaner, spray the hell out of all this, wipe it all down so that that boot fits on there nice and good. Insert boot on the pipes and tighten her up. Now I asked Justin if he had any recommendations on like a torque spec for these on how tight to make them. And he said it's a feel thing. He said, well, put your impact gun on there and give it some ooga, 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 ooga. But don't break it off. But you don't want it to fall off either. You don't want it to be too loose. You just want it just right. Man, super informative, Justin. Thanks, bro. And I actually talked to another diesel mechanic of mine. I know this is something like really super small, but I don't want to be dealing with this in the middle of the mud hole trying to put this thing on and off every 5 seconds. Very aggravating. It'll ruin your time. So I talked to another mechanic buddy of mine. He said another good idea that they recommend is you take this clamp and rub grease right on this inner area of it before you actually put it on the boot. And it will allow the clamp to like slide on the boot so you can get it as snug as possible. It doesn't kind of bind up at all to where you think it's tight, but it's not really tight. So I think I might give that a try. Just rub a little bit of like marine grease on there so it won't dry out and tighten these babies on. Always good to have her lubed up. Just like that, she's on there. Go! Tight by German engineering standards, good and tight. Now to swap out these clamps, old girl's ready to go rock and ruin. So one little complication with this first one. It's digging into my frame a little bit because I had already positioned them with the other clamps that are a bit smaller. This guy's a bit beefier to be able to take that brake line. So I think I'm gonna have to hit that with a grinder just a little bit so it'll sneak on in there, because right now it's kind of binding it up and keeping it from getting tight. Bam, look how much nicer that looks. Now, gotta do a couple up here. I'm thinking I'm gonna do like one right at this turn, one at like a 45 here, and then one more right here. So maybe like 3 total. Yeah, I think that'll work. Now these 3 are not gonna be as easy because I don't have holes there. Whereas these other 2, all I had to do is take the old clamp out, put the new one in, out with the old and in with the new. Well, these 3 I actually gotta have to tap holes. And then, tap holes. I'm gonna have to mark them, I'm gonna have to drill them, and I'm gonna have to tap them. Now that we're all done, bam, look how much sweeter that looks. I gotta do a little scrubbing on the frame there apparently because the motors were sitting there for a good little minute. I don't think it's ever got clean behind there, but look at that. Looks like someone thought about it when they did it. I mean, look how much cleaner and simpler that looks. Bam, she is pretty. Mr. Mad Scientist, you were right again, brother. Tip of the hat to you. And just like that, spaghetti steering's a thing of the past. So we're pretty much all dialed in for Plant Bamboo, ready to go do some mud bogging. Now that might be a little bit confusing because Daytona Truck Meet is in about 6 or 7 days. But we built the mud truck, slash show truck, slash tug truck, slash whatever you want to call a truck. I love a truck. I mean, I will be honest. It kind of is a damn shame to go bury this thing in the mud, considering we have a massive truck show in like a couple days. But what would Motley Crue do? They'd super kill it, and they do both. So that's what we're gonna do. Not to mention, when we built it to use the living shit out of it. So that's what we're gonna do. If y'all enjoyed the video, subscribe to our channel. Hit that button right there. While you're at it, hit the like button at the bottom of your screen. You can also check out our website, killinItlifestyle.com. There you can follow the Killin It crew and order your own apparel so everyone will know you're super killing it.